Hello, my amazing wedding vendor tribe. You are listening to the Wedding Vendor Life Podcast. I'm your host, Vitor Lindo, an educator and wedding photo video pro with 12 years in the industry. After 450 weddings and over $1 million in revenue, I created this show to enhance the quality of your life, featuring business mastermind and lifestyle tips that will propel your career. Let's build you a toolkit for your mental and physical sanity. This podcast is your new home base if you're looking to bring prosperity into your life. Thank you so much for tuning in, my friend. Let's dive in today's episode. The quote of the day, by the way, before we even get started, I like to start every podcast episode with a quote. And this quote is by Warren Buffett. And it is a very, very appropriate quote for, 2024, the end of the slow cycle here. Invest in yourself. Your knowledge is the engine of your wealth. So let's keep that in mind, guys, that when times are tough, when things are complicated, the best thing that we can do is to study and to learn and to grow as artists. OK, this first episode, it is very appropriate for the current state of the industry. And it is entitled "The State of the U.S. and Global Wedding Industry, Growth Predictions and Current Challenges." All right, let's get started. So I'm happy to have you guys here. I just want to let you know this was a lot of work to get to this point, guys. If you've ever wanted to start a podcast and if you haven't, let me tell you, really think twice before starting, because it's so much more work than you think it's going to be when you have the original idea. Right. And when you start a new project, life throws 19 different things at you that, give you the excuse to not show up and not work on that project. This podcast has been like this. It took a long time to get it off the ground. My wife, Sarah, and I have been talking about this for a very long time. But because we're so passionate about helping and guiding other wedding pros through all these pitfalls that we encountered, we kept pushing through. Right. We kept pushing through to make the podcast happen. As small business owners and, parents of twins that were born premature during a worldwide pandemic, right? As entrepreneurs that work together and live together, we know that, there's always an excuse not to do something. We know there's always an excuse not to get on that horse. And so here we are. I'm on top of the horse, guys. We're going to ride this all the way to the finish line. So I want to tell you that this podcast, the whole goal of this podcast is not to just constantly talk about business, by the way. This is not a business focused wedding podcast, although there will be a ton of business knowledge. This is a whole life view for the wedding vendor, right? We want to help wedding vendors who are struggling to find time to edit photos, to stay up to date on social media, to be romantic with their partner, to spend quality time with their kids on the weekend, to exercise and eat healthy, to book more weddings and to service their couples better. So this podcast is really a place for you to come and pick up tools, right? To grow your life, a whole life view, not just your business. Okay. We generally want to save you so many headaches. That's kind of the number one goal of this podcast. How can we make your life better? Right. So, every year the industry is changing and, we need to, stay ahead of changes, because if we don't, the changes catch us by surprise and, we are going to be falling by the wayside and the to-do list piles up and our personal life starts getting thrown to the side. And we are going to be talking all about different ways in this podcast that you can stay up to date with the industry, stay up to date with yourself, taking care of yourself, staying in tune with your star player as you have to do, right? And learning how to struggle that work-life balance. Okay. So let's get into this first episode. Now that you know all about what this podcast is about, this first episode is an episode that we actually spent a lot of time researching. Okay, it's going to have tons of figures from the wedding industry. I know that a lot of people have been struggling. This is an election year. This is a down cycle in the wedding industry. But there are so many positive financial numbers that keep coming out of all the industry reports. We see a ton of financial reports that really give us a beautiful, positive picture of what's ahead for 2025 and beyond. All right, so let's talk about where the wedding industry is right now. Okay, so inflation has driven up costs across the board, and that's being felt by vendors and couples, right? Supplies are going up, prices are going up for everybody, and really wages for weddings have kind of stagnated a little bit, right? People are still charging the same amount that they charged years ago for the same services, but inflation has gone up. The average wedding cost is now over $30,000. And this is thanks to a little bit of inflation for rising, prices of goods and services are going up, right? As vendors, really right now, we're kind of getting faced with a double-edged sword. The cost of running business is increasing. Client expectations are ever higher. Competition is ever higher. Couples really want personalized, unique experiences. Long gone are the days of, wedding packages that you can just pump out and spit out for the same client. Things are different these days. So it's putting just extra pressure on us as wedding vendors to be able to meet these expectations. It's just not 2015, 2018 anymore, So let's talk about what is going on in the minds of couples right now. So despite these financial changes, the couples are not backing down. All right. 70% of U.S. couples reported that their wedding planning was impacted by the economy. However, only 1/3 adjusted their budgets, and only 10% reduced their budgets overall. So that means that out of 70% of people who were surveyed, out of 100% of people who were surveyed, 70% said that the economy did impact them, but only 10% reduced their budgets. So that means that folks are still prioritizing weddings above a lot of different things. I'm sure people are saving in other areas to spend in their wedding because they know it's a one in a lifetime thing. So this shows us that couples are being smart with their spending. They're not really cutting back drastically. Okay. Let's talk about Europe. All right. 40% of couples in Spain, for example, said the economy affected their budget. So that's a lot less than America, right? But it's still a 9% increase from the previous year. All right. And in France, 47% of couples reported the economic impacts on their wedding budget, but only 16% actually, and was a 16% increase from the last year. So that means that both in Spain, in France, couples are feeling the pinch less than America, but it is going up. But still, overall, people are not cutting back on the spending of the weddings. Okay. On average, couples are working with around 10 vendors to bring their wedding to life. In the US, it's 14 vendors. So the rest of the world, folks only hire around 10 vendors. In America, they hire around 14 vendors. And of course, photographers still the priority for most couples. All right. So let's see. I'm looking here at my notes, guys. We have a lot of numbers. We did a lot of research for you guys to look through all the wedding reports. Let's see here. Here we go. Another huge increase that we see is folks using video to talk to their couples. So make sure if you're not talking to your couples via video chat, if you're talking to international couples, you want to make sure that you have an app called WhatsApp downloaded to your phone. It's just called WhatsApp. It's a little green symbol. It is the standard for communication all over the world. Is basically the phone number for the world. This is what everybody uses to communicate. All right. So if you are trying to book weddings internationally, if you're trying to book weddings, like destination weddings, you need to have WhatsApp on your phone, and make sure you have a business WhatsApp, which is free, by the way. It's just a little, it's a different app though. I'm pretty sure the business WhatsApp is a different app than the personal WhatsApp. And just make sure you install it, set it up, and it's a really professional way to talk to international clients. And make sure that you have that WhatsApp number on your website so that folks who are trying to contact you internationally can do so. All right. So our next topic, guys, we're going to talk about changing dynamics, all right, and wedding traditions. So wedding traditions are evolving, of course, and inflation has something to do with that. But really the number one thing is happening in the industry right now is a huge emphasis on guest experience. Couples are prioritizing guests more than ever. They're investing heavily in entertainment and catering and trying to create memorable moments for the people that they do care about. So this is, I think, because of the pandemic. I think people are having more intimate weddings that are more special. So instead of having 150 guests, let's have only 75 and spend more money per guest so we can give our guests something really special, because time is flying by and you don't know when the next pandemic may come around or the next, who knows. So the goal really for us as wedding vendors, when we're understanding these numbers, is that the industry is not on its way down. The industry really is on its way up, and people are prioritizing customized experiences, smaller weddings, and taking care of their family and friends at the wedding. Okay. So what does this mean for you? I'm going to give you guys some examples. So for example, if you're a photographer, videographer, you could consider offering, photo booths or even video booths. There's so few people out there actually offering video booths. And this could be a huge upgrade to your package. Or even if you're a wedding planner or if you're a venue owner, you could offer photo and video booths. And, these booths rent for, $1,500 an evening. And if you're doing 10 of those a month, that's $15,000 just from photo and video booths. So that's a really nice chunk of change. If you're a caterer, you could consider offering some more exotic things to give people a more interesting experience. So exotic menus or ice sculptures, things that are going to give the guests a different type of experience. Cooking something right there in front of them, flambeing things, right? Everybody loves the flames going up. So if you're a florist, you could consider doing bold flower designs and doing things that couples and guests get to interact with. So, create arrangements and things that really bring attention to the floral work, right? Make that centerpiece really the center of attention. If you're a planner, consider incorporating a content creator into your packages, or if you're a photographer as well, right? If you're a videographer, incorporating a content creator is really helpful. It could kind of give that extra edge over other folks who are not offering that. Imagine if you're a photographer or a videographer and you're offering your regular services and a video booth and a content creator, right? Of course, you can charge for those services, right? But just because you're offering them, it kind of, separates you and gives you a little bit more in your toolkit to stand out from a competition. All right. So if you're a wedding venue, one thing that you can do, or if you're a wedding planner, you could add a wedding concierge, somebody to be there on the day of, almost like a little wedding butler. This person can help take care of the personal needs of, the close family and the wedding party and things like that, making sure, people have, everything that they need and they know where they're going and they're fed. And, so these are all things that you can do as a business owner to separate yourself from the competition. These are things that you can do that are going to enhance the quality of the wedding experience overall for everybody. And these are things that couples are interested in getting. People want more attention. People want one-on-one attention these days. Okay. Really, there's a huge demographic shift. Okay. So next subject, we're moving on. So there's a huge demographic shift in who's getting married, guys, right? Time is flying by. I've been in the industry 12 years, and I'm going to be 40 in a couple of years, and times are changing. So millennials really dominate the wedding scene, but Gen Z is starting to creep up, and they're coming up. All right. People are waiting longer to get married. For example, in Italy, folks are getting married a little bit older and went from 34 years old to 36 years old in 5 years. All right. In Canada and Portugal, it went from 32 years old to 35 years old in only 4 years. So people are getting married a little bit older. So it's going to take a while for the Gen Z to get married, but they're coming, guys. All right. So we really have like a broader societal change, and people are taking time to focus on their careers, and they're waiting till they're truly ready to get married. This is something that, you know, I feel like America is slightly coming into connection with Europe in that sense. We know that in Europe, people get married older, weddings are smaller, budgets are smaller, wedding vendors get paid less. And this is something that perhaps could be a trend that's slowly creeping into America. I don't think weddings are going to get smaller in America. I think people are still going to spend the same amount of money in the weddings, but I feel like it's going to be, people are going to get married older. So we're going to have the same types of weddings, but our couples are going to be in their mid 30s as opposed to their mid 20s, right? In the beginning of my career, I did a lot of couples who were in their mid 20s, that 27, 25 years old. I did a lot of couples in that, you know, age range, but I don't think that we are going to be seeing that much more often in the years to come. Okay. So we're going to talk now about wedding spending per region. Okay. We're going to talk about the US a little bit, and then UK and Mexico. I picked, you know, destination places. I picked places where actually Sarah picked them. My wife, she did all the research. She picked the places that we know that US photographers are flying to. So we looked at Canada, we looked at France, we looked at Italy, we looked at Mexico, we looked at, you know, UK. We wanted you guys to get an idea of really what's happening, you know, broadly in the wedding industry in general. All right. And just kind of one fact, just for you to keep in mind, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here. The wedding industry is projected, okay, to grow 300% in the next 8 years. So 300%, guys. That's a gargantuan amount. So yeah, let's keep going here. Just kind of just keep that in the back of your mind as you're listening to the podcast. All right. So in the US, the average cost per guest is about $300. All right. Which is, you know, of course, super low budget when we're talking about, you know, weddings. You know, most higher end weddings, folks are going to be spending a lot more than that. But it's just a number to give you an idea. This is probably encompassing elopements as well, right? They call, weddings, quote unquote. It's probably encompassing elopements as well. Okay. The U.S. does tend to have the highest wedding costs globally. This is also because of, you know, the exchange rate, right? In the U.K. is $320 per guest. But once again, when you're talking about the exchange rate, that's why there's very little difference there. In Mexico, once again, as well, because of the exchange rate, people usually spend $60 per guest. But these are all just kind of random numbers that don't, you know, tell a full picture. The average cost per guest is, it's looking at all weddings, not the ones, you know, not upscale weddings or even, you know, middle tier. Okay. So let's talk about what's going on in the shift in the generations. Okay. So, Gen Z is slowly going to start coming in. All right. They value technology and even more than millennials, and they value personalized experiences even more than millennials. So they really care about how they engage with the vendors. They are trying to do things differently. They're trying to push traditional norms, and they're trying to do something that's very different. They're doing viral things, and they're trying to copy something they saw on TikTok. So if you're a wedding planner, if you're a wedding venue, consider keeping in mind these tendencies and having some of these ideas in your back pocket. So if you're a wedding planner, what can you do? What can you offer? If you're a DJ, right? Especially if you're a DJ, you need to stay up to date, what the songs are, what people are doing, to bring something different to the table. All right. For your vendors. Okay. Let's talk about here the next topic. Okay, the next topic is the future, guys. We're going to talk about the future of the wedding industry, and there are explosive growth predictions. I really want you guys to understand that the industry is looking to blow up in the next decade. I know that things are really difficult for a lot of wedding vendors right now. Let's keep in mind that is mainly because of the election, right? The election in the United States, the presidential election, every time that there's a presidential election, we get the same thing. We get a really, really sharp slowdown in bookings. And the closer we get to the elections, the worse it gets. And the more polarized an election is, we've noticed that's when it really can slow things down. Right. But I really expect after the election is over that bookings are going to pick back up very quickly. I've experienced that myself every time there's an election year. Right after the election, we have Thanksgiving, and then we have the biggest growth, the biggest explosion of engagements is going to happen Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year, and Valentine's Day. That's when people propose. So there should be huge growth in the next few months. All right. So let's talk about these numbers here. So this is what I was telling you about earlier, how it's poised to explode. So the global wedding market is valued right now at $180 billion. $180 billion. It's supposed to grow to over $600 billion by 2030. So this is a huge a market that's growing very, very rapidly. All right. COVID-19, of course, had an impact in the industry, but as we can see, it really, it really didn't. Right. It was just like a bump in the road, really, compared to, if you talk about it, the last 10 years of the industry, that we've seen gargantuan amounts of growth. So COVID was only a slowdown. All right. Let's talk about a couple new trends as well. So technology and sustainability are really here to stay, guys. So especially in the kind of middle tier to more high end weddings, sustainability is really important. So if you're a caterer and you're still using styrofoam and you're still using plastic, let me tell you, there will be wedding guests who are going to be eating your food and thinking to themselves, I don't want plastic in my food, or this is a lot of plastic being wasted, right? So keep in mind, try to have a shift, right? Try to have a mindset shift in your business for you to be able to offer people something that is going to be more up to date with 2024, right, guys? The world is on fire a little bit. So we need to try to use like bamboo plates and wooden skewers. We need to do things that make sense for the environment. Okay. And, for technology, guys, there's 100 different new ways that you can, incorporate technology into your offerings as a wedding vendor. So that could be through, AI design. If you are a wedding planner, you should be using artificial intelligence to come up with some, quick designs for your clients. For example, same thing if you are, even if you're a caterer, you should be able to go and use ChatGPT to create some images for your clients right there on the spot. Hey, why don't we do something like this, and just describe it and have it come up with an image for you, right? So, guys, just sit down and look at your business and what parts of your business could be more technological and what parts of your business could be more sustainable, and just do piecemeal. You don't have to do all at once. Just do little piecemeal by piecemeal, and slowly, you can make those changes, and you could probably get more clients if you have put a little green seal there, say, hey, we are an environmentally conscious wedding planning company. We are an environmentally conscious caterer. These things are going to matter to people because it matters to me. I'm going to tell you right now. So for example, my wife hates plastic in the food. So she's, when we're eating at restaurants, we're always imagining how much plastic is in this food. They're using those plastic cutting boards, right? So if you are a caterer that says, hey, we're not going to have any plastic cutting boards. We're not sous vide. We're not doing sous vide. Sous vide is just food cooked in a plastic bag, which is crazy to me. But you see that a lot at weddings because it's a really good way to, prepare food for a ton of people very easily. Okay. And it's a fancy French technique. So that's why they want to do sous vide. All right. So think of all the things that you guys can do to get in alignment with the next decade, with the next generation that's coming up. All right. So let's talk about some more things here. I'm looking through my notes, guys. We have a lot of notes here. All right. There's also going to be a huge growth and boom in LGBTQ weddings, guys. So as the world is changing, as things are evolving, and people are coming out of the Stone Age, human beings are coming out of the Stone Age. Finally, LGBTQ weddings are going to be happening. So make sure that you are being inclusive in your marketing, in the images you show on your website. Make sure that you are staying in alignment with these changes because people are changing, demographics are changing, and there are other things that couples are interested now that they were not interested in before, right? So before, nobody cared about sustainability and technology and connectivity and being too personalized. Everybody kind of actually was the opposite. People wanted that cookie cutter wedding. Wedding planners would tell me that the bride would come in and say, I want my wedding like this. And some wedding they saw on Style Me Pretty, right? I want blush and bashful, right? I'm a Southern bride and I want an outdoor wedding with moss and oak trees and blush and bashful. So, planners did that for like a decade, and that audience is shifting, and there's a new audience. There are new people that we have to cater to, guys. All right. Keep in mind, there's been a huge rise in destination weddings. I also think because this is from COVID, I think people want to travel more. People want to live life a little bit more. In the US right now, 1 in 4 weddings is a destination wedding, right? So keep that in mind. A destination wedding is not just going to Cancun. A destination wedding, if you live in Miami, right, you're having a destination wedding in Los Angeles, right? So keep that in mind. Like Napa Valley or something, that's a destination wedding for you. You're so far away from home, you might as well be in Europe, right? So 75% of couples who are opting for destination weddings are doing so because they want to create unique, memorable experiences for their family and friends and for themselves, right? Destination wedding services, the market is projected to grow almost 17% in 6 years. So if you're not opening yourself up for those kind of weddings, if you don't have WhatsApp on your phone number, if you are not putting that vibe out there, guys, nobody's going to be contacting you for those. All right. Of course, people are still using social media tremendously. People are still using Pinterest and Instagram. Keep Pinteresting, guys. If you don't have a VA right now that is managing your Pinterest account and creating boards and SEO optimizing everything and trying to drive traffic to your website, you're slipping a little bit. You got to use Pinterest as a really powerful tool. It's still being used. That's one of the old school tools that's still hanging in there. So let's talk about some regions right here, global regions. All right. So North America accounted for 23% of the global wedding market. That's crazy, right? That's US, Canada, and Mexico. So that's North America. So those 3 countries accounted for 23% of the global wedding market. The U.S. market is expected to grow 14% from now until 2030, right? And really driven by destination weddings. The Asia Pacific Rim is expected to grow 12.5% from 2024 to 2030, right? And there's a way bigger rise right now. There's a huge rise in blending traditional and modern wedding practices. So this is, if you're talking about Indian weddings, if you're talking about Asian weddings, things are getting more exotic. People are trying to mix their traditional, experiences, the traditional ceremonies with something that fits the younger audience a little bit more, right? Folks don't want to get married exactly how their parents got married. That's really the number one thing. So in Europe, the wedding market is projected to grow 13%. It's really fueled by destination weddings across the continent, right? We know, Europe is the hub for destination weddings. Everybody wants to get married in Italy and France, and Spain. So this is no surprise for everybody. All right. So photography and videography, guys, is expected to grow 13% in the next 6 years, right? And this is all related to social media. So we know that vendors, couples, everybody is dying for content right now. And if you're a photographer and you're a videographer, you hold the cards in your hands because everybody needs you. Everybody needs your content. So keep that in mind, guys. If you're having trouble finding leads, if you're having trouble connecting, if you're a photographer, videographer, and you don't have a huge network of people begging for you to create free content for them, right? Like wedding vendors who it would be worth for you to make free content for them, right? Because they would bring you, clients and exposure. If you don't have that, you need to create that immediately because everybody needs content. And you can go and create that content for them and create a true, genuine connection. Okay. Caterers, guys, catering accounted for 28% of the wedding market share. That means that on average, catering was basically 30% of people's budgets. That means that people are really valuing food. Of course, food costs have gone up tremendously, but people are, valuing food. They know that without good food, it's not a good party. So if you don't have good food and drinks, that's not a party that you're going to remember. So keep that in mind, guys. If you're a caterer, just find creative ways of doing what you already do instead of, like I said, instead of doing everything behind the scenes, start cooking in front of the guests. Cook some things right there live, and I think that adds a lot of excitement and to your presentation, and it could really step up your business. Okay, guys, we're starting to wrap up here. We're getting close to the end. All right, what's our takeaway, guys? So our takeaway is that things are looking up. Our takeaway is that the wedding industry is not crashing. Our takeaway is that we are growing. Our takeaway is that the photo and video industry is exploding. Social media isn't going anywhere. If you're a photographer and a videographer, just know that the industry as a whole is exploding. Is 300% expected rise just in the wedding industry in the next 8 years tells you that everything is going to be okay. What can you do? What can you do to be ready for 2025 and the next decade? Is to do all these things that we talked about, all these touch points that we see that these wedding industry reports are telling us. People want more connectivity. People want to get to know their wedding vendors a little bit more. People want more attention paid to guests and their experience. And people want to feel accepted by their vendors. So they want to know that you share the same values that they do. So, make sure that you are trying to stay green, make sure you're trying to stay connected, make sure you're trying to stay inclusive, and that you're advertising on your website that you are these things. All right. Guys, I really, really hope that this podcast has been valuable to you. Okay. We spent a good part of many, many hours researching all of this and, fact checking everything. We pulled a lot of this from Yahoo Financial Reports. We wanted to make sure that we got all these numbers from trusted sources. And I hope it just gives you some hope that the wedding industry is about to explode, is about to pick up. We have the election about to finish. This election cycle, thank God, is going to be over in a few weeks, and we can all go back to normal life. And we can all go back to booking a lot of weddings. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope I was able to enrich and brighten your life just a little bit today. Tune in next week when we bring you another episode filled with life-enhancing knowledge to bring equilibrium into your being and your business. If you enjoyed my podcast, please remember to subscribe, leave a review. They are really important for the success of the show. And of course, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Tell all your friends about the show, guys. Don't forget, join 4,000 other wedding pros in our Facebook mastermind group. There you have personal access to me. You can ask me questions, suggest podcast episodes, and even watch me record a podcast live. As always, in your wedding vendor life, if you are stuck, I'm available to help out. Don't be shy, guys. Reach out to me. See you later, my friends.